Hello everyone and welcome to the Rookie Pastors Podcast. A casual conversation about real ministry by real pastors. On the show this week is Kyle Neiman and Bryan Cawley. Now, let me turn it over to your host, Dustin Slayton.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kyle Neiman, for that robotic voice introduction. We hear that voice all the time nowadays on Reels, it seems like. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, Bryan Cawley and Kyle Neiman. It's good to be with y'all today. How are y'all doing?
Doing well.
Yep, I'm doing good.
Good. Bryan's over here. For those of you who are watching our watching the YouTube recording of our podcast, he's sporting him a new hat. That's a nice looking lid you got there, buddy.
Yes, the baby blue. The baby blue that's not a primary color of ETBU, but it complements well.
Yeah. You know, the ETBU's football team was undefeated up until this weekend when they ran into UMHB, but they're having a good season.
They were, and they get them again. Those D3 schools, their conferences are so small that they play each team twice.
Man, those are some long acronyms.
That's interesting.
Yeah. This weekend they play HPU followed by HSU.
There you go.
All the letters. Kyle, you're wearing your Rangers hat, man. I did not wear my Astros hat today, even though I got some Astros colors going on. I just couldn't do it. It's still too painful.
Yeah. I'm going to wear this hat out. I think they're retiring this logo next year, so I'm just going to wear it out as much as I can until then.
That's good.
So
well, we like our hats around here on the Rookie Pastors Podcast. Well, hey, you heard that voice on the intro, and it just made me think about all these new things that coming in with AI, and there's all kinds of trends that are happening with artificial intelligence out there. So, ask you guys, what is one AI trend that you find super annoying?
I'll start us off. Think it's about done, but the social media trend of the babies reading podcast or like the babies mimicking a podcast or whatever, that drove me absolutely insane. I'm really glad that on the Rookie Pastors Podcast we didn't do that. I couldn't stand that trend. I'm glad it's just about past, but yeah, I'm about done with that one.
Yeah, we should have. I think Baby Kyle, Baby Bryan, Josh, and Dustin would have been a big hit. I mean, my hair basically is the same now as it was when I was a baby. So,
on the flip side, I did see what I thought was the most amazing use of AI the other day, and it was an AI video of a wrestling match between Bob Ross and Mr. Rogers, and it was a ladder fight, and I think Bob Ross dropped Mr. Rogers onto a flaming foldable table. I was like, this is what the world is missing. We never would have seen this. So this is what AI should be used for.
That's right. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. So mine, it's kind of a two-parter. One, I'm really frustrated that I can't figure out how to use AI to make those videos. I'm just not smart enough to figure out that. But the thing that really annoys me is one of my hobbies when I have some downtime is to watch movie trailers and to like see what movie's coming out and all this stuff. And now with AI, I don't know if it's a real movie or not.
Right.
Like I'll go on YouTube and watch it and be like, oh my gosh, they're making this movie. And then I'm like, no, there's no way they're making that movie. And so it's just frustrating because once again, I've figured out that as I get older, I'm not smart enough to outsmart AI and figure things out.
Yeah, that's funny.
Glad you could admit that though.
My most annoying thing is the voice that Kyle is patching into our intro. I can't stand watching those videos and just having this weird robotic woman's voice reading the captions for me. I'm perfectly capable of reading myself. So anyway, that's the part about it that annoys me. It's just, you're watching a reel or something and it's all of a sudden, watch the man drive his truck into the lake. And I'm just like, okay, I could have figured that out without that caption. So, well, if you've probably figured out, we're talking about AI today. And in the church world, AI has had those people who think it's a good thing, and it's definitely had its detractors. And so, guys, we'll start out with this question this morning as we talk about using AI in ministry. What are some ethically questionable ways that pastors should avoid using AI? Let's start with the negatives first. And who wants to go?
I'll just say the obvious one is write your sermons.
Right.
You know,
Okay, let me take a note of that.
yeah,
Change the way I use AI.
yeah,
Just kidding, First Baptist
a
Round Rock.
little bit of ethical problems there, and really, like, when you do that, you take the prompting of the Holy Spirit out of your preaching, and so yeah, I would just that's the start for me. But I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
Kyle will say something that will then spur something in my mind, and I'll be like, "Let me add something to that."
Well, I mean, to follow up, that's the quickest one that comes to mind, right? And it's one of our primary functions as pastors is to present the word. And if you're taking the primary function and you are replacing that with this digital tool that's doing all the work for you, not only is it restricting the Holy Spirit's work in that process, but it's also you shorthanding yourself and what your calling is. So it just isn't a great way to use this. We'll get into some ways that you can use AI to assist you in sermon prep or assist you in what you do after your sermon is done. But you have to be the one that is focused on presenting this word and doing it well. It's too easy to just drop a scripture into AI and say, "What do you got for me?" It's very simple, and we're seeing that across the education world. You know, young people writing their papers and having their papers cited well, even with AI, and it's getting better and better. So the temptation gets higher and higher to give that time back to you in the week by rushing this along. But if there's one thing we shouldn't rush, it is how we present the word and doing that diligently. So I think AI is a fantastic tool that churches can use for some valuable ways, but that isn't the one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You guys hit the main one. It's just that sermon prep, sermon, writing your stuff. Really, anything that you're passing off as yours, or that you're claiming is your product that you've worked on. Don't use AI to create that for you. I also teach some classes for a college, and having students trying to use AI to do their papers, answer their questions on their exams, or whatever the case may be, because it's an online class. Pastors maybe taking some seminary classes as well. Don't use AI to try to cheat your way through seminary. You're just cheating yourself if you do something like that. So when it comes down to it, most of the ethical issues around ministry kind of just revolve around that idea of using AI to create things that you're supposed to be creating. The church didn't
Mhm.
hire ChatGPT to write sermons. It hired you. And so well, let's switch over to just some of the good ways to use AI. How are you guys using AI on a weekly basis in your ministry?
I'll start us off. There's a couple different ways. But one of the things that I try to focus on is, we being rookie pastors, being new to this, a lot of us are in churches that are smaller. And if that's the case, you don't have a robust staff. So using AI to fill some of those menial tasks that would normally be for somebody who is in a communications role or in an administrative role, those are some helpful things that save you time during the week so you can focus on the pastoral tasks of preparing your sermon, of meeting with your congregation, of planning Bible studies, of visiting hospitals and doing the pastoral work. So if I can spend less time, say, preparing copy for a Facebook post, that is a helpful thing. So that's one thing I use it on a regular basis for is I'll type into ChatGPT, say, hey, I want to write a post for this event we have coming up, or for you know this kind of encouragement point. Can you help me come up with some ideas for this? And I always read over them and try to then make sure they match the language of our church, the voice of our church. That's a really important thing. Otherwise, I mean, because I really think we're getting to the point where people can see what is AI generated as far as social media posts and stuff like that. And it comes off as less genuine. The point of me using ChatGPT for social posts is not to be disingenuous. It is simply to speed the process along to get that information out there, to be present on social media. But I still wanted to have the voice of our church. So that's one of the ways I use it on a weekly basis.
Yeah. Bryan?
Yeah, Kyle, that speeding up the process on some things to free up time. I use it. I have a ministry assistant, but she has her regular duties. Like this week, she's on vacation. And so I used it this morning I needed a sign up sheet. So I used it to create a sign up sheet, and I just have to give it the prompt, and then it broke it down exactly how I needed it. And what would have taken me 30, 45 minutes to lay it out and everything took 30, 45 seconds to do that. And so, and then, I can tweak it and things like that. But I also use it, and I'm going to talk about this more in some of the other questions, but to help research, give me some background knowledge on it of, hey, I'm going to preach on this passage, or I'm going to preach on this topic, not to give me the content for my sermon, but to give me the background basis for me to kind of get an idea of why was this scripture written this way. And but then I also use it for clarity. If I'm writing my sermon and I know, this is what I want to say, but it's just not coming out the way I want to, that would be clear. I'll go in and like I'll take the point that I'm trying to make and say, hey, can you clarify this into a more succinct statement? Not taking what, not having it create the message there, but it's helping me get past a creativity writer's block to be able to say it in a way that will be memorable. Or, hey, I've got this thing or this application that I'm trying to push, or this message point. Help me come up with an illustration. Give me some illustration ideas that would be apropos. I don't think that's changing any part of my sermon as far as the content. It's just helping me deepen it and allow people to catch more of the points that I'm trying to make in that.
I mean, what you're describing is it's a brainstorming tool, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
some pastors have a large teaching staff that can all sit around, talk about the week's sermon, and really beat it up and plan it. A lot of people have other ministers within their church that they can really bounce those ideas off of and say, hey, can you give me an idea for this? I'm really struggling with this. I do that with my wife all the time. Just like, hey, this is a point that I have. Like, does this make sense? I do that all the time. AI can be this brainstorming tool that you can bounce those ideas off of. And one of my kind of personal rules when I'm going to AI to get some of those ideas, like you were talking about, like sermon points or like wording of something, like I'll write a sermon point. I'm like, that's really wordy. And I don't know if it comes across right. So I'll type that into ChatGPT and say, can you give me 10 other ways to say this? And I like to let ChatGPT come up with a breadth of ideas. So then I can narrow it down, because then it's not just doing the task for me. It's more, again, it's helping me brainstorm when I don't have another person in the room to bounce an idea off of.
Yeah, and I think another thing that helps as well is being on a smaller staff, graphic design. I mean, it have to be careful with it because it doesn't do a whole lot of good sometimes. But if I need a quick graphic logo, something that helps a lot in that.
I love one of the things that Kyle just mentioned. Give me 10 ideas. That's something that I don't know how many times I've type that into ChatGPT. Like sometimes whenever I'm not quite hitting on a sermon title, I'll give it my main point. I'll be like, come up with a sermon title, but I'll say like, give me 10 sermon titles for this, if this is my main point, or 10 sermon titles based off of, Luke 1, 1 through 14 or something like that. And so it'll just start spitting things out. I've done exactly what you guys are talking about, having a conversation, almost like having a conversation with, ChatGPT and trying to bounce some ideas. And what I love about it is like, the other day, what was it? Well, I think it was a sermon title I was looking for, and I read through, and it gave me 30 different sermon titles, and I was reading through them and everything, and I kind of keyed in on one, but I didn't just take it. I was like, oh, this actually makes me think of another phrase, and I wound up using that other phrase. And
Right.
so it really is. It's just
Right.
it's a great brainstorming tool. It's really good to say, you're looking at a passage. Hey, give me uh, 10 evangelical scholars thoughts on this controversial topic in this passage of scripture, or
Mhm.
something like that. If you're reading something, you're like, man, there could really be some things, or maybe you're reading in a commentary. And if you're a pastor, especially starting out, you may not have 10 commentaries on Luke sitting on your shelf. And so you might just have one. And this commentator brings something up and you're like, oh, well, I need to know more about that. You know, look some of those things up, but always go and check the references. Don't just say, hey, what does this mean?
Yeah.
And then take chat's answer and go for it. Always ask
Yeah.
it to cite references, and so that you can go check those things out. So really,
Yeah,
really
and if you have
good ways to use it.
Logos or Logos or however you say it, it's Sermon Builder has a sermon assistant in there, and it can help spur that brainstorming. If you're stuck on something, it'll say, "M- think about going at it from this approach," and you can then. It's not giving you the answer, but it's just kind of it's leading you down that path to get to where you need to go with it.
If I can add in one more thing that I do this every week for our weekly email that we send out. I put a little sermon recap in there. So what I've done is created in ChatGPT a prompt that I basically said, hey, each week I'm going to copy and paste my sermon and send it to you. I want you to look over it and give me a summary statement of that, and then organize my points into bullet points and then give a key takeaway. And then I also want you to write a description paragraph for YouTube. And so every week I go into ChatGPT and just copy and paste my sermon, and it does a little summary of it. And that's something, again, like a bigger church, you have a communication staff that's going to be able to write those things. They're skilled at being copywriters. I can do that. It takes time because this is not a high attention need of me to have this sermon recap. I've already done my sermon. It's just a little extra thing for my church for people who missed on Sunday to kind of catch up. It's been a great tool. And I've had people say, thank you so much for sending those out. It's great. And honestly, I think they would appreciate just the sermon points and the scripture reference, but it just adds a little bit more flavor to it. So, that's one of the things I do every week as well.
Yeah, and the important thing to distinguish there is that you're not letting chat write it for you or come up with
No,
this
no.
summary on its own. It's just summarizing what you've already done, the work you've done, you've created. It's creating these things that, yes, you're going to send it out to your church after reading it, proofing it, and all that kind of stuff. You're going to send it out to them, but it's just taking what you've created and condensing it. And so, yeah, that's good stuff. All right. Next question, guys. How have you seen some people use AI in other ways for ministry that seems helpful? Maybe something that you look at and you're like, okay, one of these days I'm going to get there. I want to get to that point.
Y'all, we've already kind of touched on it, but the whole give me 10 things or give me 20 things. I learned that. I was watching a reel of a podcast of Josh Howerton, and he's like, this is how I start my research. And, give me 20 things about this passage that are, historical, linguistic, biblical, cultural, that, that the average Christian won't know. And I was like, man, that's really good. And so I started incorporating that into my research because you get stuff. And then if you're looking at those 20 and you're like, I'm just not finding anything that I find useful here, give me 10 more and it'll pop it out again. And so really I think I'm just scratching the surface. I'm trying to find out how others are using it, particularly in the area of research, to help me have more depth into my sermons without yeah, just just looking to see what other people are doing. So if you're listening to this podcast and you have a great way that you do it, leave us a comment and tell us what you're using.
Yes, right.
I still think I'm trying to figure it out. It's all really, really new stuff. And I I think there's still a little bit of a stigma around it too. There aren't a lot of pastors who are saying, "Hey, everyone, I'm using AI for this." You just don't. You're not seeing that, and that's that's a because of that stigma. I think a lot of people are afraid to share what they're doing. That's why I was really excited about us having this topic, because it's okay to talk about how we're using these AI tools and the positive things we can do with them. So I personally haven't seen much that I'm not already doing of how people are using AI in ministries. I see people doing it better than me, have more established prompts and stuff like that, but pretty much doing what I'm already seeing.
Yeah, I've seen guys do this where maybe they have a sermon based small group setting, and using AI to help develop those discussion prompts based off of the sermon. Um, and I haven't done it, so I don't know. I don't know what I would think of that when I use it, but I know some guys are doing that and are having success with that. Really, it's a tool that can really work for you, and you just got to figure out what works best for you in it. But it's evolving, and we're still learning. It's so new, Kyle. You're right that there is still this stigma about it as well.
Yeah. I
I
would
also
like to
think,
see
oh, go for
us, sorry. One of the things that I want us to get better at here at our church is just some of the midweek videos, quotes, social media posts, things like that. And that's something that we just need some more training on. There's lots of tools, which we'll get to here in a little bit, that can like spit out your quick reel videos to post throughout the week, sermon clips from the previous week. And that's something that I'm not doing yet. I'm trying to learn some of it for our podcast, and thankfully we got some tools to help with that. So I think that's one way that's just really good. And one way that I'm not necessarily using it a whole lot right now, but I think especially in this next semester is going to be something I try to lean into a little bit more, is just coming up with those discussion questions. I'm more of a lecturer teacher, is when it comes to like Wednesday night Bible study and things like that. And so, but I want it to become a little more engaging. And so being able to say, hey, here's my outline, here's my sermon, give me some discussion questions based off of this, and to be able to just kind of, present those out to the congregation. I think those are good things. I had
You
fun with it
froze
a
too,
couple weeks ago
Dustin.
when I was doing a sermon on Zechariah being in the temple and the birth announcement of the angel. And I made an AI picture of an angel doing a gender reveal for Zechariah. And man, it was so weird, but it hit with our congregation. They loved it. And so,
That's
I
awesome.
would just say, don't be afraid to try some things, get a little creative. Just see what happens. All right. Go ahead, Brian.
Dustin, you were talking about making your kind of your midweek or your semester more engaging, where you're not just lecturing. I actually did this last week because I'd been falling into the trap of just lecturing on Wednesday nights, and I was like, give me a group activity to start this lesson off. And it knew what I was teaching on, and it was like, okay, do this. So then I could take it, and I'm just, and I was like, I would have never come up with that on my own,
Yeah, that's
but
good.
now they're engaging more. So just like Dustin said, try it, and just see what it does for you.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. There's nothing wrong with seeing what it does. Just trying to figure out what is this capable of. My son was doing a little Bible study group with some of his friends. It's the cutest thing. He's like, this is when a couple years ago. He's 8 years old. He's like, I want to have a Bible study with my friends, and so he invites friends over, and they just study the Bible. They did this over the summer, handful of times. And so he's like, Dad, I want us to study this passage. Do you have some questions I can ask? And I'm like, I cannot. I wish I had the time to write a curriculum for you, son, but I cannot do that. But I was like, okay, let me see what I can do. So and also just to preface this, he gave me like an hour's notice. So, if I had more time, maybe I would have done something on my own. But I went to ChatGPT and I just said, can you create 5 discussion questions based on this scripture that is geared for a small group of 8-year-old kids. And it was really impressive and a little bit scary how well it crafted what I was requesting. They were very surface level questions. It's not like they were going to get into deep theology and all this stuff around this, but it really was intuitive. And so I gave it to them and they had great conversation around it. And so, it was just one of those things. I was like, I'm going to try this out and see what happens. Now, I don't think we should replace curriculum with this. There's some ethical things there as far as how is ChatGPT sourcing some of these things, because it could be sourcing from people who deserve the payment for that curriculum, right? So we got to be careful with that. But it's okay to explore what it is capable of.
Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, as we wrap up, we've had these conversations on our text thread before about some of the tools and stuff like that we're using, AI tools. So what is a good AI tool? And I'll just say, aside from ChatGPT, because I think we've talked about our good buddy GPT enough today, what is an AI tool that you would recommend our listeners check out?
I got one that I was just turned on to yesterday, and it's called sermon.faithbot.io. Sermon.faithbot.io. And it's a research assistant, and it's like, for your sermon, it's like, what do you need to know about the sermon you're planning on preaching? Do you want me to create discussion questions for you? That kind of stuff. But the feature that I really like is you can put your sermon in, and that it will critique it for you from a clarity, how memorable are your hooks and your points, theological depth, biblical accuracy. It'll take it and talk about, will this fit into a good time management? Are you going too long? And it'll say, here's your strengths. Think about trying this to make your sermon even better. So I got turned on to it yesterday, and so I put some of my old sermons into it. And this is I manuscript my sermons, and so they were too long for the character count that it allowed. So I went to ChatGTP and said,
shorter sermons, man.
Yeah, I went to ChatGTP and said, create a sermon outline based off of this sermon. It did that. Then I pulled that and put it back into there, and it evaluated my sermons, and I was kind of scared doing it. I was like, oh, what's it going to say? I felt pretty good after I got the results from it that I'm on the right track. But moving forward, I'm like, this is going to be great to make it better before I present it. Like, putting the old ones in helped me become a better pastor, because it's critiquing me like a seminary professor would, so to speak. But now if I do that before I even go and deliver it, it's going to help me be better on Sunday mornings, which in turn helps my congregation grow, because they're getting a better message out of it.
That's interesting. Yeah. The ones that I use on a regular basis, obviously we've mentioned ChatGPT. There's a reason it's like a household name now, because it's really versatile. It can do a lot more than you think. And one of the things I would mention specifically about ChatGPT is that it will design like PDFs for you. So Bryan, you were mentioning like a sign up form, and I was like, I do that pretty regularly for sign up forms, just because it saves a lot of time.
Yeah,
I can make
absolutely.
sign up forms. I got plenty of templates and stuff like that. I just type it in and there it is. Like, okay, give me this many spaces and whatnot, and boom, there's a PDF. So if you didn't know about that's a really helpful thing. It can also create slides. Like, you can create a Google slide deck or a PowerPoint file, which is very helpful, I've found, for when I have a presentation to do and I didn't know that someone wanted slides for it or something like that. I didn't know slides were going to be an option. So to have it put that together for me really fast is a convenient thing. So those are a couple things in ChatGPT that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, because of the kind of question and answer format of it. The other thing I would encourage you to do is, AI is getting integrated in so many tools that you're already using on a regular basis. Look where it's already is and see if it's helpful to lean into those spaces rather than seeking to find a silver bullet tool that's out there. See what you're already doing within kind of the flow of how you already organize your sermons, how you already organize your administrative tasks of the week. So Google has Gemini. That's, if you have that as part of your Google suite, it will look over your emails and just clean them up for you if you want it to, or you don't have to have it. So I find I will ask AI to clean up emails that are going for like highly professional things, requests of different organizations or things like that. I never have it clean up my emails I'm sending to a church member, because I don't need a professional voice. I need my voice, right? So you really have to play with that. But I would say look for where AI already is and lean into that. I do all my sermon notes in an app called Notion. It's been a great tool for organizing all my notebooks and stuff like that. I used to be Evernote, but Evernote kept asking for more and more money, so I kicked that to the curb, and Notion is free. If you pay for Notion, they don't pay me anything, by the way. This is not an ad. You pay for Notion, you get access to their more robust AI. I've done the sample of the AI. It's pretty cool. Doesn't really work for my workflow, but maybe there's something in those tools you're already using that you could lean into a little bit that can help speed up your processes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one AI tool that I've just fallen in love with is an app called Speechify, and you can get it downloaded on your phone or tablet. You can also just use their web version of it, Speechify. And what it does is it takes any PDF, and it also works, I think, with like Word docs and stuff like that. It'll take any PDF and turn it into an audiobook. And so if you have a EPUB or a PDF or a Mobi, is that the other kind of ebook reader version?
Yeah.
If you have any of those, you can upload it straight into Speechify in the app on your phone or on the website, and in about 30 seconds, it'll turn it into an audiobook. It's not flawless. There are times where it says a word wrong or skips a word or randomly reads the subtitle heading at the top of a page or something like that. But man, it is pretty stinking accurate. And you can actually change the voices. They've got a whole lot of different English voices and other languages as well. They've got, most of them are just kind of generic, different types of American voices, British voices, whatever. But they also have Snoop Dogg. So if you ever wanted Snoop Dogg to read one of your theology books to you, this is your chance. Okay.
Never came to mind.
For
Never even
shizzle
a thought.
dizzle. I mean, it's exactly what you've been missing in your life. But here's how I have really enjoyed using it. Is I've got shelves and shelves and shelves full of books I've picked up at conferences and retreats and that people have given to me that I would love to eventually get to read, but they're just really low on the priority list. And so we have a paper cutter downstairs. So I've taken some of those books, and if you're a book lover who thinks you have to really baby your books, you might want to close your ears. But I take it downstairs, I cut the spine off of it, run it through our printer, which converts it into a PDF in about 60 seconds, and then upload that PDF to my Speechify, and all of a sudden I've got an audiobook out of that book that's been sitting on my shelf. And so I've churned through quite a bit of books in the last however many months listening to that. And so I have a 30-minute commute. I can go through some audiobooks pretty quick because I also listen to them on the 1.5 speed. And so anyway, Speechify is one of those. It has been pretty game changer for me when it comes to reading and continuing to learn.
Hey, Dustin, there's one that we haven't talked about that I think is just beginning, but we've texted about this, how AI is going to change ministry. And that's the language translation that Apple is introducing through the AirPods, where, on a mission trip, you'll be able to have real-time translation in the language that you're dealing with. That's going to be a game changer when it comes to mission work.
Yeah, I got mine in just the other day,
well.
tested it out with my admin assistant, and worked great. She speaks English too, but she speaks Spanish, and so we tested it out.
I had to test mine with Univision.
I can finally understand my administrative assistant. I've never known what she was saying to me, and now I know. Just kidding. But yeah, that is a very, very cool feature. I mean, another thing, if we just want to keep throwing things out there, like, I don't know what it's called, but at our church, we just started using a captioning service that captions the sermon. It's just the sermon. and you just pull it up on your phone. It's really kind of for use for people in the room because we have a whole lot of internationals that come to our church. And so right now we have 6 languages, obviously English, but I think we've got Spanish, Portuguese, Tamil, Mandarin, and Korean, I think. And so whenever the sermon starts, the captioning starts, they can sit there with their phone and it's being translated caption wise into their language. And it's pretty accurate from what I understand. I've been told. And so anyway, it's just kind of a really cool tool to be able to reach some people that otherwise we wouldn't be able to reach.
What was that called again?
I don't know. I'll tell you,
You didn't say it. Okay.
I will link it
Post
in
in
the show notes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of his
That's very
minions signed him up for it.
Well, good deal, man. Anything else, guys, you want to add before we finish up? All right. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
There's
For those of you who are wondering why we might be a little off today, my internet is super slow at my office today. And so I feel like I'm a few seconds behind everybody, and I'm the host. And so that's why this episode is slightly a train wreck. So anyway, Kyle, do you got something you want to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I already mentioned exploring ChatGPT and whatnot, but look at it for like scheduling things too, like scheduling your social media content, scheduling your week even. Say, hey, here are the tasks I need to get in the week. As a guy who has ADHD and really struggles with that organization, sometimes having a to-do list kind of made for me helps. So look at where your weaknesses are and see if that can be of help. Last thing I'll say is, we've talked a lot about this being a brainstorming tool, something that we can lean on where we're shorthanded. Don't let it substitute your opportunity to meet with people and to give people a chance to speak into your ministry. Use it as a tool, absolutely, but don't let it replace your connections with people. That is such a big part of what we do in pastoring is leadership development of young people on our staff, of encouraging leaders of our deacons in our church, and connecting with people. So don't let it replace what the giftedness of somebody in your church or in your staff could fulfill those roles. So just want to share that disclaimer before we wrap up.
Good word, Kyle.
For sure, man. Appreciate that. Well, thank you for joining us on the Rookie Pastors podcast today. Be sure to follow us on all of our social medias. You can find us on Facebook, X, and TikTok, YouTube, all the typical places. Most places it is at Rookie Pastors Pod, but on X it's at Rookie Pastors. So follow us on there, drop us a line, let us know what has impacted you, and also just let us know what you'd like to hear on the podcast. We'd love to hear from you guys. So y'all have a blessed week. Enjoy AI. Go have a conversation, maybe a sip of coffee with ChatGPT, and we'll join you next time on the podcast. Have a good night.